You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 155. Ooh, feels good to be back. It feels good to be back. I hope you guys had a great 4th of July, and I know I did. Hopefully you did as well. But I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Allen, a.k.a. Cal, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Not a whole heck of a lot going on here tonight. It's another Wednesday. You know, we would usually say that things are usually running as well as they could be, but a revelation has taken place here in the last few days, Matt. And I know that one of them has been we can finally connect without going through all the hoops and the hurdles that Skype, Zoom has to offer. We are connected seamlessly together. I can see you. You can see me, and I can finally hear for the first time. And what episode are we on right now? What episode?
155.
In 155 episodes, I can finally hear the intro, the countdown, all the special claps all around, because I could finally hear everything that's going on. I am not just another spectator. I am an active and willing participant. That's got me more excited than ever for this show here tonight.
You can hear this. You can hear this.
There it is.
I mean, there's just...
And it's time for Shield.
Not yet,
Shout
actually,
out.
for Shield.
Ka-shing.
But the good news is Ecamm is up and running and working out for us. So cheers to Ecamm. We really appreciate you for doing that for us. So, Voldy, we've been off for a week. There's been some things that have transpired, especially this past Monday. Alex D, I think it is, or Alex A, whoever it is. Not Alex Zappa.
I don't know who this guy is.
We fulfilled your wish. Cole Munson is back to talk Wolves. And we had a good chat, and it was,
We did.
he gave us thoughts on the end of the season, off season,
Mm-hmm.
talked about the new deal with Anthony Edwards. Congratulations to Ant, face of the franchise. That's all that's really all I can say right about now. We talk about that, and also we talk about the draft picks that the Wolves did get. And the last thing we talk about, who would win in a fight, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
This is a legit question.
It
This
is.
is a legit question.
It is. So you guys are in for a treat tonight with that. Then after, we're doing one Tater Tot Hot Take, and then we're going to do ARA. But the thing for Tater Tot Hot Take, Voldy, I'm just going to preview it just real quick. That was the worst baseball game I've seen the Twins played in a long time. And I was at that game. So we're going to talk about just how bad the Twins have been. And then we're going to move into ARA. A lot of talk with the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, things happen in NBA and WNBA, and also retirement. That's in soccer. That's quite apparent as well. And then shield shoutouts. So got a lot jam-packed today. So, and Voldy, you mentioned that we have the new features. You can hear and you can see everything and whatnot. One of these features, this could be, you guys might not be seeing as much recorded segments. And that, I'm not saying that we won't ever do it, but the thing is that we finally can have our guests on live. So let's give out some claps. It's about time. So that means Troy Stoudemire, live. Double Trouble, live. Cole Munson, live. I mean, you name it, you keep hitting on it. There's a lot going on. So a lot of cool things happening. So you guys keep in tune, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get Cole on here. He's going to give us thoughts. We trade barbs back and forth as we go, and it's a lot of fun. So let's get it rolling with Cole Munson. We're back on MinneZona Sports Live. We have our special guest, and it's been a little bit of while. They've been clamoring. The Zoners have been clamoring, or excuse me, Alex, I believe his name has been clamoring for this guy.
He has.
Cole Munson, we welcome back to the show, and yes, we're giving you claps. Yep, it's finally, we can finally hear this stuff. So, Cole, welcome back to the show. You ready to talk some pups, or what?
I'm always ready to talk pups, Matt. You know that. Thank you to my loyal fan base for begging for me back. We've been trying to line this up for a while. Just, schedules are a bit chaotic. So, finally got it on the books and ready to roll.
All right. Well, let's get going because there's a lot to talk about. End of the season for the Wolves. They obviously lose in the first round of the playoffs. A lot of talk about future with karlanthonytowns. A lot of talk about what they're going to do with Cat and whatnot. Cole, I mean, what's the deal? I mean, what are we looking at this? How do you review the end of the season here? What do you got?
So, just a quick rundown of where they ended up. They finished 42-40 after the play-in. They took the Lakers to overtime for the 7th seed. Ended up losing that game and got the 8th seed after they won the final play-in game. Lost in basically a gentleman's sweep to the Nuggets. They put up a solid fight, but it's just the Nuggets were the Nuggets. It was a disappointing season at a 42-40 record. Your best or second best player, depending on who you ask, missed. I think he only played in 29 games the entirety of the season. It was just a rough year injury-wise. It's a rough year trying to get things going. First year of Gobert, that took a long time to get up off the ground. The biggest killer for us, we only finished 2 games behind the Clippers for the 5 seed, and I think this is a completely different conversation if you're the 5 seed going into next year. Because I mean, you're walking in, you're looking at it like, well, we were just on the precipice of the top 4 team in the West. Well, if you take a look at who they played and how they ended up playing, like against some of the lower end teams, between the 5 teams that finished with the top 5 picks, they had a 6-10 record, which means they had a losing record against San Antonio, Portland, Charlotte, Detroit, Houston.
Dang.
So, and if you take Houston out of that, they finished 3-9. They cleaned up against Houston, but that was about the only one that they've cleaned up against. They played horrible against bad teams. And I don't know if that's a coaching issue. I don't know if that's a attention to detail issue. But if you flip, let's say instead of 6-10, you go 10-6, you're at least 5 seed. And if I remember right, you would be pushing for the 4 seed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, again, you finished 2 games behind and you had that record against that bad of teams. Cat only played 29 games. You had the whole D'Lo thing in the middle of the season. It was a down year, but there was a lot of positive things to go for.
Well, I think that deserves a little triangle chime there, just so we can. I'll put that there because I agree with you, Cole, and there's been a lot of talk about, well, they made that deal for Rudy. And we've had Alex Zapp on here, Bally Sports North reporter, and he gave his thoughts on that whole Rudy thing too. And there's obviously some controversy surrounding Rudy Gobert. So, Cole, what are your thoughts on the whole Rudy experiment so far after 1 year? What do you got?
We messed up. Listen. I tried to put a nice lighting. Yes, I tried to put a nice lighting on what we did this year. That trade is horrible. It's probably going to go down as one of the worst trades in team history, which is saying something. As a team that got basically nothing for Kevin Garnett, but there's nothing more to say. He's a solid player. He's a solid foundational defensive guy. But the problem is you traded for a 30-year-old that's making $45-ish million for the next about 3 years, with no real chance to get out from underneath that contract because, well, who wants to pay $45 million a year to a guy that can barely catch basketball? So I don't know where you really go from there with that contract. Tim Connolly's going to have to hit on some young guys. That being said, the future is not lost. I mean, there's different areas that you can go. Unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to hit on this later, but you're going to have to contractually just move karlanthonytowns or Rudy Gobert next year. It's just contractually speaking, you cannot keep both on the same team and field any sort of team.
Yeah. Well, I feel like with the Wolves, Voldy, we've talked about this too. They trade for him, and they're able to, they're able to get him on the court, and it just seems like guys maybe not getting along with him, but they are. Some aren't. We all know with D'Angelo Russell, that whole deal. Now, I have a hard time thinking the Wolves are going to just say, you know what, this whole 1 year experience, we're done with him. I just feel like maybe after next season that would be kind of the thing. I mean, Voldy, wouldn't you agree that at this point you got to go at least this year with Gobert and then see what happens after next season? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that too, especially with the fact that you throw in also the new ownership situation as well that you have faced in front of you too, because the new ownership group is going to want to take stock of what they have right now and what they can use to move for the future as well to help this team eventually, by God, if do something other than just make the playoffs, maybe actually make a run in the playoffs too. But we'll see how that all develops. I think really you have to take a look at which do you think is going to be more valuable after the season, Rudy Gobert or Karl-Anthony Towns? Yes, Cats had the issues with injuries as of late, and obviously both have bigger contracts that they're going to have to eat. But of the two that you look at, I think Cats is going to be the one that is going to be more likely to be eaten, as opposed to what Gobert is having right now, because of the fact that, well, Cat's still in the prime of his career, if not very, at the very top of his career right now, and he's still going to be worth something, as opposed to, as Munson brought up, who wants to pay a guy $45 million a year if he can't even catch a basketball. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Zappa said that as well, so I think we're all in agreement there. So let's move on to this offseason. Cole, the Wolves have made some re-signings. Our guy, Naz Reid, baby, he's back. I'm pretty stoked about that. You're feeling good. Voldy's feeling good about it too. But so far, I mean, how would you look at this offseason? Yeah, you re-sign Naz Reid, and then you re-sign Nikhil just recently, 4-year deal and whatnot. So how would you rate this offseason, free agency? We'll get into the draft in a second, but what are your thoughts so far with this offseason?
Well, so they held on to some of their core guys. They signed Ant, obviously, to that massive deal, which I'm sure we'll touch on it a bit. They re-signed Na, like you said, which Na showed signs last year of being able to be a lockdown defender and hit the occasional three, which is huge for being like a rotational player in the NBA. And then obviously the Naz Reid deal. I love the Naz Reid deal. The big key there is you need to find him minutes. You can't sign him to that deal and then have him play like 18 minutes, 17 minutes, and just, waste away on the bench. Which means that you're going to need to play two of Cat, Gobert, and Naz Reid for a majority of the game. If you're going to get him those minutes, you need to play two of those three basically all the time. So that is going to need to be something that they can figure out and that they can move forward with. Jumping over to some of like the other signings that they made. So they went out and they got Shake Milton, and they went out and got Troy Brown Jr. Now, to open up the space to sign those two guys, they had to cut taurenprince. Taurenprince, I'm going to miss him. He was a great guy out of the corner, could play some solid lockdown defense. It is what it is. But to make room for these guys, they needed to make that cut. So they brought in Shake Milton. Shake Milton's 27 on a 2-year deal, I think $10 million. Career, he's about a 36.5 point or 3-point percent shooter. Just last year, he shot 37.8%. So he's above average 3-point shooter as a backup, likely to be point guard for us. Takes care of the ball solidly as a backup point guard with a 2 2/3 assist to turnover ratio. And he's going to be a bench scorer for point guards with just being able to provide a scoring punch at times. I looked it up. He actually has 10 games in his 4-year career of 25 or more points. So he'll probably provide you about 2-3 games a year where he's going to provide you with a large scoring punch and probably win you a game. So for $5 million a year, I'll take that as a backup point guard. Troy Brown Jr., 24-year-old, 2-year deal, $4 million a year. It's a flyer deal. Hopefully he hits and can continue off what he did last year. Very young team. He's got, last year, keep in mind, he played with LeBron. LeBron kind of boosts some of these stats, but he shot 38% from three last year. That is pretty good as far as rotational wings goes. with a 56% true shooting percentage. So overall, he shot efficiently and he was able to hit threes, which is what you're looking for out of that. And I mean, I put it on there. He's a young gamble type of move. Also, a bit of insurance just in case Josh Minot and or Wendell Moore don't pan out, which I'm assuming by the end of the year they'll be eating into his minutes, and then we'll be looking at he's more of like a depth piece for us.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think, off season. Would you give a? Let me ask you. What would you give a grade as of right now? Just right now, there's still a lot of off season to be had. But what grade would you give the Wolves right now in the off season?
With what they had, I'd give them a B.
Okay.
They did a solid job. I'm not gonna say they did great. Shake Milton is what he is. He's a decent backup point guard to have in the league. And then, Troy Brown Jr., very unproven. Like, he hasn't really done anything. I mean, it's a great job keeping the guys that they have and bringing them back. And I like those moves. But really, you were hamstrung from being able to really expand this team because you're limited on cap space. You're limited on draft capital. So, yeah, we'll get into the draft here in a second, but I would say overall a B.
Okay. Hey, I can live with that. Voldy, can you live with that? A B? Pretty solid.
I could definitely live with a B considering what they had and what they have to go off of as well. Hey, B's get degrees last time I checked.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, now that we have Shake Milton on the team,
Shake.
He's got the shakes that'll make you quake, baby. Let's go. Longest yard? Anyone? Yeah, I'm sure. Those owners probably have seen it. But so, with that being said, Cole, Ant, he's back, baby. With that new deal, we knew it was coming. Thank God. Voldy is praying to God right now, and we're very, very happy with that. And, it's great. Boom. So $260 million, I believe, for 5 years. That's a pretty big sum, and this, I believe, officially puts Ant as the franchise player. Wouldn't you say, Cole? And do you feel good about the deal? Do you think Ant can be the guy to lead the Wolves to the promised land?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head there. He's officially now the number one guy. I'm sorry, Cat moved to the side a little bit. Ant's there now. Mm-hmm. He's actually one of 3 guys to get that deal. I think LaMelo Ball got it, and then Tyrese Halliburton also got that deal this year.
Yep.
So, I mean, you had to do what you had to do to get it done. I'm glad it's done. It's a huge weight off of our shoulders. Locked in for 5 years, which is huge with this organization. Just being able to have a guy like that playing for our team for the next 5 years is going to be huge. Next step is you got to keep him happy. I mean, the clock's always ticking on that front. I mean, you've seen multiple people get angry and want out and demand trades and things like that. You've got to keep him happy. You've got to put a good team around him. If you're competitive, he won't want out, but you need to remain competitive. So that's the biggest key at this point. Now you've got this deal done. You need to build around him.
Yep. And that's the big thing. You mentioned build around him. And I feel like with KG, they did that, but then it just didn't pan out. You have Cassell, you have Sprewell and all that stuff. But now with Edwards, it's a little bit, I feel like it's a tad bit different, where you can add more pieces, especially with the young roster that you have. So I think there's a lot of growth to be had with this team. And, Rome wasn't built in a day, or in this case, the Target Center, Voldy hasn't burned it to the ground yet, but,
nope.
We'll see when we get to that as well. So, Cole, let's bring up this draft, these draft picks. You got Leonard Miller, Jaylenclark, these guys are pretty solid defensively. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of offensive opportunity with Miller as there. It seems like Clark wants to kind of be the shutdown guy, and man, if you got a lot of good defense play, you have Jaden McDaniels, which would be solid, and you add in Clark, you add in Miller. It's looking pretty good. So, what are your thoughts on the two guys that the Wolves drafted? What do you think?
Yeah, so Leonard Miller, obviously, he played with Scoot Henderson on that G League team. A lot of people were saying he was the second best player on that team. He's a very high energy guy, very good defensively, very long, very good finisher on the rim because he's so athletic and long. I have not seen him play a lot, but I've heard from people that a lot of people had him top 15 in this draft class and that they were surprised that he fell. So I'm going to be tuning in. They got a G League game here at 9 o'clock tonight. So I'll be tuning in to watch him playing that. Jaylenclark, unfortunately, he's out for the entire year this year. He tore something. I think it was either meniscus or ACL or something like that.
Yeah.
But he'll be out for the entirety of the year. But they were saying that going into the year, he was a top, I think, like 20 prospect as far as being drafted before the injury. So getting him in the late second round was a pretty big steal on their part. He is a very good defender. He's one of the top defenders in the class when healthy. You're taking a gamble that he's going to come back as the same athlete and the same defensive capabilities as before. So you've got two good to great defensive prospects that you're hoping pan out and can provide some defensive versatility around that young core. And like you said, if these two pan out, then you're looking at a pretty good defensive foundation there with Jaden and those two. Plus, don't forget Wendell Moore and Josh Minot. Those two, I think, over time, you'll start seeing them have a role this year. I think by the end of the year, those two will be key rotational pieces. So you're starting to build at least a young nucleus. Now, we don't know how good any of these guys will be. You don't know which of these guys have starting opportunities and material. You'll find that out here soon enough, but you at least have options and you have a foundation.
That's good. That's what we want. Options, foundation. That's exactly what they need. And because we've seen the dysfunction before, Cole. We've all seen it. And we don't want to see it again. So, Voldy, let's hit it with rapid fire.
All right, so don't let the quality of the video fool you. We are super serious, and we're coming fast here with these questions. So, Munson, I got a lot of T-Wolves related rapid fire questions for you, starting things off as well. We all know how the end of the season turned out, but over under, how many rounds could a Rudy Gobert Kyle Anderson fight last?
1 round. Kyle Anderson's got him within 2 minutes.
Ooh, nice. I like it. How many ant chair swings could you take before going down?
A half a swing.
Half a swing.
I like it. If he if he pulls up at the end and whacks me in the knee, I'm still going down and I'm screaming for mercy. So 1 half a swing.
There you go.
I love it. More likely to happen: the Wolves win the title or Ricky Rubio wins the title?
Ricky Rubio wins the title.
Stop it.
Of course.
He's the GOAT, Callahan. Admit it. Best point guard in T-Wolves history.
Zim's cussing you out. That's all I got to say.
Gut reaction answer. Does Kevin Love, K-Love, deserve to get his number retired as a T-Wolf?
No.
All right.
He didn't make
it. I like it.
Really?
He didn't make the playoffs.
Here's what can...
He had his chance, and he blew it.
He had his chance.
Really did.
Correct.
He did. He really did. All right. Upcoming season as well. We're talking here. What's the record for the upcoming season for the Timberwolves?
46 wins.
46 wins, improvement. I like it. Will they win the in-season tournament coming up out of the western side?
We're grouped with the Kings, Warriors, 2 teams out east that I don't remember were very good. I'm going to go with no. I think the Kings come out of that grouping, and we missed the semifinal tournament. But I think we finished second in our grouping.
So with those 46 wins, they make the playoffs this year?
Correct. I would say.
And if they do make make the playoffs as well, how does that tarnish LeBron's legacy?
Well, LeBron's legacy is already tarnished anyways. It's in the toilet, you know.
Hey, that's all I got. That's all I got for rapid fire.
I got one back for you guys.
Okay.
LeBron or Jordan? Go.
Oh, good Lord. Here we go again. I said it on this show before. This was like 3 years ago, I think, Voldy. I picked Jordan. And the reason why I picked Jordan
I picked Jordan
because,
too.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I picked Jordan is because he was so iconic. Not saying LeBron isn't, but I feel like there's more. I felt like he was the better basketball player, and he could score. He could play shutdown defense. I mean, the guy did it all. So did LeBron. But then again, it's like, well, compare the finals records. Well, it doesn't. Bill Russell, man.
I think of who I want in a street fight next to me. Do I want LeBron? Do I want either of them? Absolutely. But do I want LeBron or do I want Jordan to literally knock someone the heck out? And it's going to be Jordan, because Jordan's got that dog in him. He will fight until literally there's nothing left to be fought for. LeBron, probably, but at the same time, Jordan takes the cake all the time.
Let me give this to LeBron, though, real quick.
Ooh.
Just real quick. He's done more in the community and creating schools, things like that. I think you got to give LeBron credit where credit's due there. And, people looked at Jordan as this just great basketball player. There wasn't really people that hated him that much. Not as much as LeBron. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, a lot of people do not like LeBron, for instance. So that's how I'd answer that one. Who would you say? You'd probably say Jordan too, right?
Jordan's better than LeBron as far as that goes. Now, if you're talking, Voldy's fight analogy there, I'm sorry, I love Jordan. LeBron is 6'8", 260.
Yeah.
Pure muscle. I mean, the guy, I know he's got some soccer flop game in him, but that guy is going to do a lot of damage. A whole lot of damage.
I feel like Jordan at a point would just either pull out a knife or pull out a gun and be like, all right, we're done here, fellas.
He'll pull out his golf club. That's what he'll
exactly.
do.
He'll pull out a weapon at some sort and be like, all right, we're done here.
With a big old cigar in his mouth, too. So
exactly.
That's how it'll go down.
Oh, I got something for you.
Right. What a great way to end this interview. Talking about who would win in a fight, Jordan or LeBron.
Do we got time for one quick hitter on this?
Yes, please go. Real quick.
So, I know I mentioned this earlier, but this is worth mentioning again. Keep an eye out for either Rudy Gobert or karlanthonytowns to get traded either mid-season or at the end of the season this year with the contract situation that's coming up. You can't afford to keep both of them, or else you're going to enter into the second apron, which, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It is very harrowing. It basically makes it so you cannot build a team. So, quick hitter, I would expect either a karlanthonytowns or Rudy Gobert trade, and one of them to not be on the team, not this year, but the following year.
Well, Cole, hey, thanks for coming on again. I know you've been meaning to come on. We did want to fulfill Alex's wish of having you back on again. I know you guys had your little conversation not too long. I think it was a couple episodes ago or whatnot. But I just wanted to keep the zoners happy and make sure that you were on, because you say that you have a big fan base and you're trying to win best guess. So we'll see. Especially when the season starts. Yeah, we'll see. Got to beat out the champs. That's the main thing.
Mhm.
But, Cole, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Well, there it is. Cole
There it is.
Munson and all his glory. So, there's been a lot of Wolves talk here on the chats.
Yep.
Why spend over $300 million on 3 centers, money, Munson? Bad idea, but the Nas contract is good in a vacuum. Okay? We got that going for us. All right. And then Dylan Kilpatrick. Hello, Zoners. Hey, Dylan. Good to see Garza signed a 2-way with the puppies. Let's go. I know you're an Iowa guy. So that's good. I really liked what Garza did last year. LaFlop is done after the flopping rule is implemented. Well, you just stay tuned there, Alex.
Heyo.
That's coming up here in a second. Cat will get traded easily. Disappeared in the playoffs. It's a very strong possibility.
Very
strong possibility. But I don't see it happening before the season. That's just my thing. But I guess, Cat said, effing watch us with 3 centers. So
Yikes.
I don't know. We'll kind of see how
I don't think I want to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I just feel like Cat's just got to stop saying stuff that he shouldn't say. But
Pretty much.
you're the say what you want, Cat. All right. So, with that being said, Voldy, we got one Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. We need to address this. I've been waiting pretty much all week to address it. So, let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, we are back with some Tater Tot Hot Take. We start off Hot Take with Minnesota Twins. This past Sunday, the Minnesota Twins lose to the Baltimore Orioles. It was quite it was bad. Especially for me being at the game as well with Papa Callahan. I'll get to that in a second, but yes, I can confirm that there were a lot of boos on at Target Field, and rightfully so. I'm going to give kind of my spiel in a second, just to kind of look at, just to kind of gather my thoughts. But Voldy, this first half of the season, there's been more bad than good. There's been some good in the way that some of these pitchers have been actually, the pitching has been pretty good, but the bats are just not there. So Voldy, if you were to kind of assess this first half, I mean, you know what? I'm going to use one of your analogies. The Twins are on life support right now. I think that's kind of, we're going to use the Wild, what we did with the Wild there. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts here on the Twins this first half of the season?
The first half got off to a good start for once. The pitching was actually sufficeable enough to actually get some wins. Yes, the Twins were winning 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 ball games, but the pitching actually held out. The starters, actually went the distance to where the bullpen didn't have to embarrass themselves, at least through the first 20, 30-ish games of the season. From that point on, it's been lackluster is probably too nice of a term to throw out there for the first half for the Twins, but the bullpen did not have the greatest showing in the first half as well. The offense continues to struggle in multiple areas. You've got, you're rolling out a different lineup every day. I know multiple times during the first half we were talking about how Donovan Solano was leading the Twins in hitting with the average that was in the 260s. Things started to improve a little bit. You got a nice little prospect at second base with Edouard Julien. Do you think you can build a franchise around him like you had in a great piece in Luis Ariz? Well, he's hitting, and the Twins aren't. So basically, he took all the bats with him when he went down to Miami in that trade with Pablo Lopez, too. But that's been a pretty even trade so far. I think it's just more favored towards the Marlins right now because, Luis Ariz is nearly hitting 400 and plays every day as opposed to Pablo Lopez. But getting back to the point, too, I mean, you just got so many holes in so many different places. There have been some nice moments as well, but a whole lot of consistency hasn't been the Twins' strong suit here in this first half. You've got Max Kepler, who seems to be turning into Joey Gallo, where it's going to be a home run or a strikeout no matter what. You've got Byron Buxton not playing defense anymore, over 300 days since he played center field, but who's counting according to the article that we're both looking at right now. You've got so many moving pieces as well. You got Rocco Baldelli trying to fire up the team, but nobody's really taking him serious. There's just too many problems already. I just really hope the second half really starts to even things out a little bit. Yeah. At least the fact that Carlos Correa has been playing a lot more is certainly a nice help too. At least, you've got him at the top of the order, but overall the lineup has just got more question marks than actual answers here after the first half.
Well, another bright spot before I get into it, Edward Julian's been outplaying almost every Minnesota Twin right now.
Yeah.
Hitting-wise, I should say. He's been very close. Solano, on Saturday, played very well, had a couple nice base hits and whatnot. So there's some positive with that, and then hopefully those guys can develop. That game on Saturday, the Orioles had one inning, and I think it was the second inning, that they scored 6 runs. And I believe Sonny Gray was pitching, and he played well. I mean, the pitching was fine. After that inning, he was good. The Twins kind of had a couple – they had a run in the first inning, and then later on, I think in the 7th, I believe. So that game, they lose, you got to think that they're going to play a lot better come tomorrow. And, of course, myself and Papa Callahan go to the game. And you have Joe Ryan, on the mound, which is fantastic. We're happy that he's been playing very well. And, he gave up some runs. But you know what? I mean, with what they deal with right now, what they're dealing with right now with the bats, I feel like you can kind of give the pitching a pass now. There's a lot to be said. Buxton on Saturday, 0 for 3 strikeouts. Yikes. He is batting very close to 199. Correa 0 for 1 with a walk, a run scored, but then he had a strikeout. You expect a little more for a guy that you're paying $200 million. Then you have Solano, didn't have the best game on Sunday, but again, you can't always rely on him to kind of carry the team. And Kepler. I hate to do this because I know Kepler is kind of a zoner favorite in some aspect, but he was bad. Joey Gallo's hitting or his batting average is awful. It is 180, 179. I mean, it is so bad. And he's got to get a reality check pretty soon, and he's got to fix that. The Boo Birds were out. I think they looked very uninspired. Unfortunately, Ryne only went 4.5 innings.
Still struck out 10.
Yeah, still struck out 10. And he was doing his job. The fact that we sit here and the bats can't do the same is a huge problem. And the person I'm blaming, and I've been blaming for a while now, is Rocco Baldelli. And Voli, you make a good point by saying that no one's really listening to him. No one in the, no one in the locker room is like taking him seriously. And when you have that, there's really only one thing that you can do, and that's maybe to make a change. And I'm hoping, and I normally don't want I don't want someone to, you never want someone to like, oh, you're gonna lose your job, you hope you never get a job. Rocco Baldelli will probably get a job after, maybe not as a manager, but work with a team. But it's not working. And after he had a little tirade after they played the Braves or whatever, you would think that they would kind of respond and play well, and I think they did for maybe a little bit. And then they come back and play like that. I was so tempted. I'm not going to lie, Voldy. I was so tempted to, like, find a way to walk down to that dugout, poke my head, and say, Rocco, what the hell? That's just what I want to say. like I just, and just start, cussing up a storm, whatever. But, like, where is the freaking, where's the veteran presence that you want? Where is the Nelson Cruz leader in that locker room, in that dugout? And when you're looking out there, they just sit there and they're just like looking out into the distance. They say, oh, this is the land of 10,000 rakes. Well, guess what? The land of 10,000 rakes, there's no more rakes. They're all burned. They are absolutely burned to the ground. They need a reality check, and the only way that I feel like they can turn this around is if they let go of Rocco Baldelli. There needs to be a new voice in that dugout, and the same monotone BS that he always brings out in his press conferences. And after I believe he thought his last chance was to, get fired up in the press conference and everything like that, but I think pretty much all those guys laughed in his face. And you know what? He showed emotion. I give him credit for that. But at the same time, they're not listening to you. And the fact that, you always stick to your guns and taking out pitchers when they don't need to be taken out and everything like that. It's over. It's over with Rocco Baldelli. I don't know why, it's come to this, but at the same time, I feel like there's got to be someone that is going to keep these guys inspired, and when things are starting to kind of go wrong, they need to right the ship. Rocco Baldelli has been sinking this team all the way almost, to the bottom, and luckily it's a weak division. You're a half game back in the Central. And if this was let's just say the White Sox or the Guardians were really good this year. Rocco Baldelli, I don't think would have had his job after Sunday. That's just the honest truth. And I am I'm so sick of this. And when I was watching that game, Papa Callahan, we left in the 8th inning because we knew they weren't. I mean, it was 15-2 at that point. It's like they're not coming back, and they're playing uninspired, and there's nothing much we can do. The relief pitching, I will say, did lay an egg. After Joe Ryne left, but the bats got to do something, man. I don't think anyone's above 300 whatsoever. So they need to, they got to figure it out, because they'll probably lose the Central and not even get a playoff spot in the postseason. So they got a lot of work to do, and I'm going to keep saying it. Rocco needs to go. Rocco needs to go. And I said that in the socials medias, and it's I'm sorry, but it's true. So, all right. So, anyway, back to some more happier things. ARA is next. We've got some good absurd brews, a lot involving the NBA, a lot of news with rules, things like that. The Wild add a Stanley Cup champ to the team, and that definitely helps, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then a retirement, Megan Rapinoe. She's, we'll be talking about that as well. So, without further ado, let's get it going. What's up? Observe or approve.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, NHL free season action did get started over our little break and did include the Minnesota Wild actually making a move. They did get a trade from the Tampa Bay Lightning, which is going to be cap friendly for them. But the Wild have added 3-time Stanley Cup winner Patrickmaroon, the big rig himself, as he will be coming to the Minnesota Wild. That will be, not too bad. The Wild are going to be, not having to pay all that much for him. Claps all around for that. As, Maroon, a playoff veteran to say the least, in 3 Stanley Cup championships from 2019, 2020, and 2021 as well, St. Louis and Tampa Bay. Big guy, he was a 4th liner last year with the Lightning as well, but still provided some action in front of the net. Only 14 points last season, but has been known to show up when it comes to crunch time with the playoffs as well in his career, especially bouncing around a little bit, but most recently with Tampa Bay and St. Louis too. But looking at the move that the Wild did make in adding a playoff veteran presence with Patrickmaroon, the big rig himself, will this help the Wild to get over the hump? And how does this tarnish LeBron's legacy?
Oh, wow, I didn't know that we're on that. Let me answer the first part of the question, then I'll get to the LeBron thing. Obviously, Billy G does it again, right?
Right.
You lose Revo in free agency, but I think they were expecting that, so there's really nothing to worry on that front. But they do add with Maroon. Obviously, the guy's 6'3", 234 pounds. That's a big dude, big rig, like you said. He's definitely he has the experience in the playoffs, and I feel like that he's going to be a leader in that locker room. And I think that adding a guy with that prestige, you learn to respect those guys. And the fact that the Wild were able to do that and clear cap space is really great. And Guerin knows that the more money that they have, they can spend on other players and things like that. And it seems like they were able to get another Lightning player as well, Max Vick. Does that sound
sure?
Right?
We'll go with that.
We'll go.
I
with
have
that.
no idea.
And so Tampa Bay got a 7th round draft pick in return. You only give that up. Hey, I'm not complaining too much. So, absolutely stamp of approval. Let me preface this by saying, how does this tarnish LeBron's legacy? Well, how it's going to tarnish his legacy is that if he wins another Stanley Cup, and hopefully with the Wild, he'll be tied with LeBron. This could tarnish his legacy. True. So we got that going for us right now. So that's what I think. Stamp of approval, though. Good trade. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I am definitely not against the trade as well. Obviously you did lose Revo to the Maple Leafs, Toronto. It was, and they kind of saw that coming a little bit. It was going to be hard to re-sign him, and being able to find something to replace that is going to be tough, especially. But you want a guy at least in the locker room to have that playoff experience as well, because that's what the Wild are needing. They're needing a good mix. They've got the youth. They've got scoring ability too. Now they just need something big and ugly in the front. Not saying that, Big Rig is big and ugly, but he ain't small and pretty. I'll say that much as well. But then again, they're all hockey guys. You're either good looking and scoring 50 goals a season, or in the opposite end of the spectrum. Big Rig falls somewhere in between there as well. I think it'll be a nice move. It'll help them get over the hump. They got to start winning games and stop rotating goaltenders when it comes to playoff series as well. Other than that, I think it's a smart move. It's got my stamp of approval as well.
How does it tarnish LeBron's legacy?
Like you said, I mean, he wins another one, he'll be tied with LeBron. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. The numbers don't lie. Neither do the rings.
There you go. That's what we got. All right, next one, Voldy.
So an interesting story talking about this kind of comes off the tail end of obviously everything that is related to the Brittany Griner situation, her playing overseas. And obviously a lot of American women, female basketball players having to play overseas when the WNBA season is not going on. And it seems that a couple of players are going to be stepping up here to at least give WNBA players an opportunity of playing in season, or I should say during the off season domestically as well, as opposed to going to other countries. Breanna Stewart from the New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx's very own Nafisa Collier saying they are founding a new women's basketball league to give WNBA players another option to play as opposed to going into obviously foreign countries and playing during the off season. This would run from January through March, leading up to the start of the WNBA season as well, which would feature 30 of the top professional women's players on 6 teams playing 3-on-3 and 1-on-1 on a soundstage in Miami. And of course, the goal is to raise enough for private funding and through sponsorships to get the league up off the ground. The new league is being called Unrivaled. Now, this is certainly an interesting move with everything that's gone on over the last few years and having to supplement incomes by keeping to play throughout the whole year, basically, for these professional women's basketball players too. But looking at playing domestically for these players as well, is it absurd or approved that will more U.S.-based players stick around to play in this new said league coming up here? And they're looking at coming up here after the current season and getting started in the new year.
Yeah, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. If the whole Brittany Griner situation pretty much sums it all up. I think it's nice so that you know that you don't have to go to, well, of all places, Russia right now. Yeah. So basically, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I mean, Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart starting this up is something that I feel like at this time is something that's needed, and also sounds like a good time for a lot of these players in the offseason. And, you know, that some of them obviously have to go on, maternity leave and things like that, and having children in the off season and whatnot. But it's also good to have, to obviously have this off season and whatnot to kind of, do things like that. So it's got my stamp of approval. I would say that if they get things started, or if they start it, so they will start it after this year. Is that the consensus, right, Voldy?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like.
Okay.
And obviously a lot of it's going to be coming down to how much money they're going to have to raise. And that's one thing I wanted to talk about too, is obviously how much it's going to take to even keep the courts going and at least have the ability to hold such events in such space as well, because looking at the contracts as well, the biggest contract in the WNBA is only $234,000. Well, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands, if not maybe even a few $1,000,000 to keep things going from January through March in a certain space in Miami. Not going to be cheap as well. And that's that's the role that they're looking at. Is I feel like Stewart and Collier are looking at for them for other players to hopefully step as well, and obviously other companies and sponsorships as well to make this thing happen as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's got my stamp of approval. So, Voldy, what do you got? Or if you
it's got my stamp of approval as well. I just really think this is going to be an opportunity for them to hopefully keep things in-house and obviously have not to travel overseas away from friends, family, loved ones as well, so that they can continue to sharpen their skills, play up against some of the best players in the league and obviously in the country as well, and not have to supplement such income as by playing overseas during the off season and not so hospitable conditions, we'll certainly say. But it's got my stamp of approval.
Yep, I stay in house. The better. I think it's just better at this point. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Yeah, we go from the WNBA to the NBA. We kind of talked on it briefly with our conversation with Cole Munson and talking the NBA unveiling a new in-season tournament to take place, because what makes it better than not having less basketball? How about more basketball and everybody gets a trophy? This one, nonetheless, whatsoever, as the NBA did unveil not only just the in-season tournament that will take place, but actual trophy that will go with it, as teams will play in the in-season tournament, the NBA Cup as they're calling it, that teams will be claiming to win in a summer. Of course, this was all unveiled during the Summer League this past week, as well as the culmination of a vision by Commissioner Adam Silver that will follow through with a European Cup-style competition. Teams from throughout the league are going to be divided up into different brackets, if you will, and different groups as well to battle head-to-head, if you will, as it'll be 6 5-team groups, 3 of them made up of Eastern Conference teams and 3 of Western Conference teams that will go on to a group stage event as well, with the Minnesota Timberwolves being in group number 6, that is with the Kings, the Warriors, the Thunder, and the Spurs as well. Be used like a World Cup style draw process, splitting each conference, yada, 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 getting into the good stuff as well. So looking at how everything is going to go on there, one team will be randomly selected from each of the 5 spots to create what league the league hopes will be 3 evenly matched groups to compete against each other. And it'll be taking place November 3rd, 10th, 14th, and so on. A combination of 4 Fridays and 3 Tuesdays as well, to eventually lead to the winner of NBA Cup action. Look, this is getting more and more confusing the more I try to even explain this as well. I have no idea what the hell's going on, but apparently the NBA wants to be more like soccer. The soccer wants to be more like NBA. Looking at it all together as well, is it absurd or approved? With this in-season tournament, will it be a success for all? And do you think the Wolves got a chance to make it out of their bracket?
First thought is, what's the point? I just don't understand why they're doing this like group cup play, type of thing. You don't need to change anything, and the fact that this is something that it's basically look, you won a cup trophy. That's great. But have you won the finals? Have you won an NBA champion? I think this is a bad idea. So I'd say it's absurd on that front. I don't get why the dates would be November 3rd. Just randomly in November, just have all this stuff going on. I think it's ridiculous. I don't know what Silver's think. I really like Silver. I don't know what the point of this is, but then again, I think, money. So I think it's absurd. I think that's something that you really shouldn't try and I just feel like it's not a great idea. You just have the regular season. Maybe you do something. It's like, well, what about the All-Star game? Yeah, the guys really don't take the All-Star game seriously, granted. I do agree with that. But I just think this is trying to be soccer. It's confusing. But the group that the Wolves are in, to answer the second part of this, they're not going to beat Golden State. Sacramento, they might have a chance, but I just don't see them winning out of that group, especially with Golden State. Of course, Golden State's in with the Wolves, so maybe put them somewhere else where they might have a shot. But I don't see them getting far, but out of Group 6. But I don't know. If this comes into being, then maybe it'll be good. I don't know. We'll see. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Well, I really hate how the NBA just really thinks that they can just make stuff up and actually think it's going to be a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know where this comes from, because you would think at the end of the day that the ultimate prize would be winning the NBA championship. But now apparently everybody wants a trophy and everybody wants a chance to win at least something. Look, there's only one championship in each league. That's how it works. Get over it and move on. Like, this is just trying to draw more and more attention from all other sports, because they want to be the new shiny toy to, say, hey, look, we're doing something different. Come watch us. Don't watch football. Don't watch baseball. Definitely don't watch hockey. We're the new thing in town. Let's try and steal as many viewers as possible. It's completely absurd. I don't think that this is going to be a smart move long term. Maybe immediate impact. It will have some sort of positive impact. Who knows? The Warriors will probably win the whole thing regardlessly. And the Wolves, they couldn't have gotten a much worse spot to be in as well. Typical fashion of any professional sports league that wants to stick it to Minnesota in any way. Let's put them against the best teams in the league, just short of having them play against LeBron 5 times on a regular basis. Let's put them with the Warriors, maybe the Kings, maybe the Spurs. I don't know what Wembanyama is going to look at towards November if he's going to be playing regularly. Yeah, let's put some of the other teams against Minnesota and just watch them kick the crap out of the Timberwolves, because that's what the major professional sports leagues want to do to any Minnesota sports team, is just to screw them over, basically. So that's completely absurd.
There's the national media in Minnesota. They just do not go hand in hand.
Yep.
That's what we'll... It is what it is. All right, next one, Voldy.
So talking about the NBA still, some new rules going to be coming in here for the upcoming season that will include coaches' challenges, a second coaches' challenge, and also rules against in-game flopping and penalties against that as well. So the rule changes did include a second coaches' challenge if the first one was successful. So that's going to be a new change from the previous seasons as well, where you only had one coach's challenge, whether it was right or whether it was wrong. That's all you had. But if you get the first one right, then you get a second one as well to put in your back pocket for later in the game as well. Now, talking about the flopping side of things, when a referee can call for a flop, the rule that's going to be, when a referee can call for a flop, there will be a unsportsmanlike technical foul called on the offending player's team, and the opposing team will get a free throw. So if you flop, the other team gets a free throw, as referees won't also have to stop play to call a flop, as they can wait until the next stop in live action, if needed, to make the call as well. So it's not going to be an instantaneous foul free throw situation. Next possible stoppage, there will be the likes of a foul called as well. And also, with those also taking place, the league's pre-existing post-game flop violation structure will stay in place, with a nice financial penalty that will be include a fines beginning at $2,000 and increasing over repeated offense as well. Flops called during games, however, will just result in a free throw for the other team as well. But the flopping rule will be utilized on a 1-year trial basis. So this rule, the flopping rule, is going to be taking place here for the season, maybe some adjustments after the upcoming season, but the coaches challenge looks like that's going to be staying around here for some time. Second coaches challenge, I should say, after our first successful one. Is it absurd or approve here with these new rules that are going to be coming in here for the upcoming season with, of course, changes on flopping and those coaches challenges? Will those have a positive impact for the game?
Yeah. And the reason why I say that is there's been a lot of flopping. And that just sounds weird, but there has been with the NBA. And, I feel like a lot of these star players have taken advantage of that. And, basically they didn't have a rule for that. But at the same time, there are some absurd fouls that guys will fake and whatnot, and act like they got fouled, and the king of that, I feel like, and people can correct me if I'm wrong too, but Paul Pierce, I feel like, did that a lot when he was playing with the Celtics. But LeBron, obviously, he's he does that as well. But I feel like every NBA player at one point has done that. And they need to really they really need to kind of put their thumb down on it, because it's gotten to a point where it's like, if you breathe on someone, it's a foul. Like, it's
Pretty
just
much.
ridiculous. So so I'm glad that they're kind of taking action on it. With the technical foul stuff and whatnot, I like that, just because it's more serious, and it's like, don't do that. Like, just, if you're going through the lane and you make contact with somebody, and you call a foul or you don't. So we'll see. I think it's going to be better in that sense. Coach's challenge, yeah, I think having an extra challenge is helpful, just because there's a lot of there can be a call that's towards the end of the game that you got to take a look at, and things like that. So yeah, I like the challenge thing, but the flopping thing, I think, is going to go well for the NBA, just to kind of finally put the hammer down, and no, we're not having you do all this stupid flopping, and it's just like, it's like Lance Stevenson, what he did with LeBron. He just blows right into his face, and then LeBron could just flop, right? So, but I don't know. Yeah, so it's got my stamp of approval. I think that's good that they're making those changes. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think the flopping thing has been a big concern for a number of years. I can't even put a specific number on it. It just continues to get worse and worse with each year. So now it's going to start holding guys even more accountable as well to not flop, because then you're just going to be giving away points to other teams too. And this is going to make, I would think, more things more competitive in that regard to, actually hold your ground and stand your guard. Now, the referees, are they going to be abusing the call a little bit more? We'll have to see on that. And for the coach's challenge, I think you should have the coach's challenge until you get it wrong, is the thing. Just like in football too, you should be able to have challenges as long as you continue to get them right. If you get it wrong, then you should lose it. After 2 challenges, if you lose the first one, that's, you get a second one. But if you get a third one, you get the second one right, then you get a third one. But if you get that one, there should be as many challenges as you can get. But obviously, you got to have a hard set limit right now at 2. Especially since you only had 1 in the first place, whether it was right or wrong. But now the second one will be there if you get the first one right. Hopefully down the road you get 2 automatic challenges. We'll see how it goes here after the season. But I think it'll help out a lot more, especially with the referees too, I think, so that they are making the right call a lot more consistently. So it's got my stamp of approval too.
Yep. You never know how things will go. I mean, we say, oh, it's going to be great and everything like that, but then it could just go south. So we'll see. Right. It's kind of like the defensive pass interference stuff. They pretty much did it for 1 year, and then people just decided, no, this doesn't work.
Right.
Thanks, Aints. But last one, Volde.
So we head to the world of soccer, since we are brilliant soccer minds here on MinneZona Sports Live, and talking about the U.S. women's national soccer team, including one of the stars that's been around for quite a few years, quite a few World Cup runs as well. 38-year-old Megan Rapinoe said her decision to announce her retirement from the Women's World Cup will help the U.S. better focus on their attempt for their 3rd world title. And of course, she did announce that she will be retiring at the end of the 2023 National Women's Super League season, as she did announce this past week as well, helping that it would help the team move forward as well. And of course, over the most recent number of years too, Rapinoe's been very outspoken about the difference in wages and infrastructure, right, with the women's U.S. soccer team, and just women's soccer altogether, as well as opposed to the men, the leagues themselves, and how that's all come to a head as well, with her voice being one of the most loud out of the group that has been quite successful, with the notable names that have come along the way too with U.S. women's soccer. But I feel like this is the same situation as where we were a number of years ago with Abby Wambach, who did retire
Yeah.
from the U.S. women's soccer team. But could this one going around as well with Megan Rapinoe retiring too? Is it absurd or approved? Will it actually help women's soccer move forward as well with her setting her retirement?
Yes, and you know, you think you talk about, she's been with them on this run, and 38 and playing soccer and playing it at a high level is quite impressive. Abby Wambach, you mentioned, and this, she just wants to have them, focus on, winning the World Cup, and I give claps out to that, to Megan Rapinoe. Because she's thinking team first, and obviously, with her retirement, they'll be able to focus and whatnot. And she has been very outspoken, like you said, Voldy, and she's done a lot for the sport. To get more eyes to watch them, to fight for the wages that they do so rightly deserve, and I can't give her nothing but claps with that, and appreciation. It will. I think it will, because pretty much it's kind of passing the torch. Now, who is going to be that? I don't know. Alex Morgan, possibly. We'll see. But there's a lot of respect for Megan Rapinoe. Obviously, with what's going on, like outside of sports too. I mean, no matter what your political mind is, whatever you think with that, I mean, she was a very, very solid soccer player for the U.S. of A. And I can't wait to see what they do in the World Cup. They're always fun to watch, I will say, definitely with the Women's World Cup. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
I think if anything, this is going to help move the game because of the fact that Megan Rapinoe will have to worry about actually training for an upcoming season or with the women's U.S. soccer team, because of the fact she'll have more time to focus on closing that wage gap and providing at least more time and hopefully expertise to getting these female athletes the wages they so rightly deserve as well. Because let's be honest, the U.S. women's soccer team's been, if not twice, if not 10 times more successful than the men's program. Yeah. And at least this century, we'll certainly say in that area too, because the numbers don't lie in that regard too. I think with her stepping away, she'll still be able to have an impact on the game as well. Now it'll just be in a different capacity. Maybe it'll be able to hopefully improve, like I said, with the off the field concerns as well, with the soccer federations and leagues as well. Sure. So that way she can put her stamp on the game in a different way as well. I think it'll help the women's game move forward. Let's just hope it's more of an immediate impact than it was with when Abby Wambach retired, because I know she was a early voice in that fight too, but maybe they'll have something to work on and join forces in that area, especially those that have come before, those that'll come after, and those that are there right now experiencing it day in and day out. It's got my stamp of approval too.
Whether that's in coaching, whether that she becomes an ambassador, I mean, wouldn't surprise me one bit. So, all right, great job with ARA this week of Voldy, as per usual. And Shield shoutouts. We got some exciting news, especially from a zoner favorite, I would like to say. But I don't want to reveal too much because I want Voldy to take care of that. And then there's again, all these retirements. There's a lot of retirements happening, I feel like. It's just it's a crazy time, man. Crazy time.
Time.
Let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a word of congratulations, a big Shield shout out to friend of the program, Alex Koopminers. Coop, who got engaged over the weekend, over the holiday weekend, I should say, to his girlfriend as well. Yes, claps to that. celebrating 4th of July weekend with an engagement. So congrats to Coop and the squad there as well. Hopefully we can have him on again sometime in the future and we can get the details on all that. See if we're invited to the wedding or not. We'll have to wait and see on that as well. Also have to send word a happy retirement, longtime NHL forward Patrick Hornquist, who did decide to hang up his skates, most recently playing for the Florida Panthers in their Stanley Cup final run. Did play a good chunk of his games as well with the Nashville Predators, but did win 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in recent years as well. So happy retirement to Patrick Hornquist. And, well, that's a pretty short list here this week for Shield Shoutouts nonetheless, and that's going to do it there for Shield Shoutouts.
All right. Well, with that being said, great job, Shield Shoutouts.
Thanks, sir.
Coop, congratulations from all of us here at MinneZona. We look forward to having you back on. And, yeah. I hope everything goes well at the wedding planning. I know it's very stressful.
Yes.
So good luck with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. With that being said, you know what would be a great wedding gift? Some
What's
MinneZona
that?
merch. Some
Ooh,
MinneZona merch.
nailed
See how
it.
what I did there? I think it was quite clever. So we got stickers. Obviously, they're restocked. $2 for the small ones, $3 for the big ones. Make sure you check that out. We still have some shirts left, limited edition. So make sure that you guys check those out as well. $20, $5 shipping to make sure that we got everything going with that. But there's a lot of cool things that that we can give to you with a lot of merch and some stuff on the way too. So. Don't tell anyone. Or actually, yeah, you should. But with that being said, check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel at www.w2performance.com. We got to get Rattel on, man. I just thought of that.
We do.
Yeah. We got to get him on.
Got to get him on.
Yeah, we got to chat. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson. Make sure you check the Victorious P.O.D. with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. And then TLS Performance, our guy, Troy Stoudemire Jr., he's got all the plans for you, especially. He's got food that he preps, and he's a workaholic when it comes to that. So,
Yeah, he is.
well done with that, Troy, our guy. Make sure you check out Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff and Ryan Myhrberg for Omni Entertainment. And you can look at part 2. Like we said, we had Mitch Ribby on. You could see part 2. Voldy came away with the win. I came away with the win. The Vikings could do it for me. 6-3.
There we go.
6-3. Like, come on.
Classic
We
NFC
got to score
North
a
battle.
touchdown. Yeah, that too. I mean, I don't think that would happen, obviously, in real life, because I feel like the Vikings would dismantle the Bears. But,
Oh, for sure.
you do what you need to do with that. So, yeah. Well, that being said, that's going to do it for episode 155. And again, thank you to Cole Munson coming on again. Claps to you. Except for that Ricky Rubio thing. But at the same time, you know what? If Ricky Rubio wins an NBA Finals with the team, I'll be happy for him. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. But why couldn't he do that with the Wolves? That's all I got to say with that.
Exactly.
I ask Cole Munson that question. So with that being said, that's going to do it. And remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.